beautiful souls. Today's the day we're going to do the tutorial to put together the armoire. This is how I actually decorated it. I did use the flowers from the digital elements and the metal pieces or filigree that's included in the armoire kit. I also used the beads that are included in the armoire kit to make handles excuse me, or door pulls, and I did use these from my stash and these seed beads, but pretty much everything else is from the digital kit and from the physical kit. This is from the physical kit, which is the appliques, and I snipped part of that long applique off so that I can include it here, and I added diamond dots. So this is how the armoire is going to look when we assemble it. Of course, you're going to decorate it the way you want. Now, I highly suggest watching the whole video before you do any assembly. Thank you to all you beautiful souls who bought the kit. I am officially sold of the physical kit. The digital kit are always going to be available because it is digital. However, I can no longer offer the printed digital collections because my printer really gave me a hard time. Okay. I will also be making some more of the armoires for sale, including the paper. But the paper will not be sold with the kit. So you also have the option to use your own papers to cover your armoire. Or if you purchase the digitals, you can use those papers to cover your armoire. You do have options. You can message me on Instagram if you're interested in the digital papers. And I will also make another announcement when these are available. Okay, now for the kit, this also comes with these parts. And these parts are to make a caddy. I will make a separate video to put this together, okay? Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to glue these two pieces together. And I want to align these exactly the same, okay? You can use any adhesive you prefer. This gave it more stability. It made it more thicker and stronger. Okay, now that we have that done and it's more sturdier, it has more stability, we're going to now glue this to this. You're going to notice that this has a white border and this is actually taller, and it doesn't quite align with the front armoire. You know, you're going to see some white border. We're going to remedy that. We're going to flip this over, and we are going to align the armoire on the back side of the paper, and we're going to move it away from that border. I can see where that border is because the light is shining here, so I can actually see that. And we're actually going to align the bottom legs of the armoire to the edge of that, although there is a white border. We're going to cover that with this. What this does is, it wasn't intended to cover this. You know, my intentions were where the paper was completely printed, borderless. However, again, I couldn't achieve that. So this is going to serve two purposes. One, we're going to cover that, right? So of course we're going to cover this also with the paper. And it's going to make the legs more sturdier. And you're going to have two of these for the front and two for the back of your armoire feet, okay? And then we're going to trace that You're going to trace all of that on the outside, and we're going to trace the inside. And then we're going to cut it out by hand. So we're going to fussy cut that out. I'm sorry if that's, you know, a little bit too much for you, but this is the best way I knew how to minimize me feeling overwhelmed and having to cut all of these out by the machine. And that way, if you do not want to use this paper, you can use a different paper. You're free to do so also. And you could also use a 12 by 12, which will make it even easier, and you don't have to worry about having a white border either. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and trace all around that, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. That's tedious, so I'm not gonna do that on camera. We all know how to cut, right? Except for my friend Ida from Created to Create. She cuts like a 5-year-old. So, sorry sis, I threw you under the bus. But she'll tell you that herself. So, that's what we're going to do here. Okay, so let's go ahead and trace outside and inside. And let's go ahead and cut that. So as you can see here, I traced. And I did start to cut, and I remember, well, let me at least show what I was talking about in case anybody got lost a little bit. Okay, so I did trace the front door, and I'm also going to cut the inside out. So I did cut around on the outside. Now I'm going to cut the middle, but I want to show you here how I don't have that white border up here, but I do have it down here. And like I said, that's going to get covered with one of these anyway. I am going to use, well, I started using this X-Acto knife. So I am going to use this X-Acto knife for here. And then if you want straight lines, straight smooth cuts, I would suggest using an X-Acto knife with a ruler. So you can line it up here. You could have done that too, just for the outsides here. I just ended up using the scissors for there. And I'm going super slow. So I got this nice smooth cut with the X-Acto knife. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a ruler and line it up, and then use the X-Acto knife to cut these straight lines. So I got mine all cut out, and I have to match it up to how I had this aligned on the paper. Mine was this way, so now I flip it over and I will glue this in place. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we did to the front. We're going to do this the same to here. We're going to flip this over again, bringing it all the way to the bottom, but away from that white border. And we will trace around it and leave it intact. Of course, we don't cut out the middle because this is the back of the armoire. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so here it is, cut. Now go ahead and glue your armoire designer paper to your armoire back. You're going to find these pieces in the kit. You're going to have 3 that is scored only on 2 sides of the poster board. And then you're going to find this piece that are scored on all 4 edges. Okay, we're going to put this one aside. Now, you're going to have 2 shorter pieces and a longer piece. You're going to set the 2 shorter pieces aside. You're going to have a 3rd sheet. So this is our 3rd sheet. So there's 3 sheets of this same designer paper. So before I cut the piece for here, I went ahead and cut off all the edges so I don't get confused as to where to align the edge of this piece to here. So now that we have that cut, all I'm going to do is measure from here to here and then cut this entire piece off. So we have this now. We're going to need this, so let's put this one aside. So now that we have that, now we're going to cut under 3 inches. So in other words, this piece here will be a little bit under 3 inches. So let's cut that. Okay, so this was the piece, and now I did cut just under 3 inches, and that's going to fit here. We're going to actually glue this in place as well. Now the reason why we needed to keep this piece in full length this way, I believe this goes like this, because we need to glue one of these to that. But of course we're going to do it this way. We can glue it down and then cut, or we can trace it and then cut. I'm actually going to trace it and then cut like we've been doing with the armoire. So I'm going to trace that and cut it. And the reason why we need it this way is because one of these is going to be in the front of the armoire where the opening, where the doors are, and we want it to go in the same direction as the pattern paper that's glued onto that door, onto the frame of the door. All right, the other pieces that are left, it's going to go in a different, we're going to glue these here, but in a different direction, but that's okay because they're going to go on the inside of the legs of the armoire, and one is going to go in the back of the armoire, so that's not going to be seen. But we do need these as well for that. Let me see. If you can fit 3 here, that would be perfect, and then you have it. Or you still have leftovers from when we traced the armoire frame for the doors, and then the back of the armoire. We still have those pieces as well, so we can use those as well. Okay, so you're gonna have leftovers for that. So go ahead and do that. Trace it, cut it, and glue it into place. And this one as well. Okay, and now all you gotta do is glue them in place. I have a little visitor. My first granddaughter.
Why did you come to?
Hmm?
Why did you come to our night?
Yes, Mommy.
Oh,
You're my little helper today?
yeah.
Yeah? So once you glue these on, make sure you label it on the back. Because remember, the front, the direction is different. So for the front, this goes on the front of the armoire, but on the outside. Okay, so now we're gonna do the doors, and we're gonna need these two for the doors. So you have a left and a right. Shh.
Okay, you go. Fine.
So we're gonna do some more tracing.
Are you doing the one?
This one does go here. So we're gonna trace that.
Okay, let me see.
And we're gonna trace the inside. Let me put it this way.
Okay.
We're gonna trace on the outside, and we're gonna trace on the inside.
Okay.
And then once we do that, we cut it out. Then we're going to use this same one because we can't see through here, right? There's no, because we need to see these to align it.
Okay.
So we're also going to put this in place. And then we're going to trace only on the outside. Because this part, this one layers on top of here.
Okay.
So I used the paper trimmer to cut these parts out of the paper. Because remember, it's all aligned like this. So I cut this part out. And then I used the paper trimmer for the sides and the bottom because they are straight. I'm just going to fussy cut here.
Okay.
And then here, I also did the same thing. I used the paper trimmer to cut off all the straight edges, and I'm just going to fussy cut here and use the X-Acto knife to cut in here. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Leia, you think I'm talking to you?
I don't want to play.
I'm talking to the beautiful souls who are going to make the armoire.
They can make Penny.
So once you cut out all your pieces, you glue that in place. You glue this one to this one. And then you glue all of them together like that. And you're going to have a really nice sturdy door. And then remember, you have to, these pieces here, these two printed pages are for you to layer the inside of your armoire. Bless you, Mama. So we're not going to do this yet because we're not assembling anything yet. We're just layering all the parts that are going to be layered first, okay? And this is going to be one sturdy door. And then you're just going to repeat this for the other door. I went ahead and cut these out. Not sure if I'm going to use these, but these are to layer. Excuse you, Mommy, you okay? Okay. Okay. These are to layer here if you want to make it. Hold on, Mamita. To make it dimensional. Okay, so that's really up to you. It's your choice. Okay, for the two remaining parts that has the score line on the edges, you can glue these down to that. This is for the outside of the armoire. On both of them. We're going to take this piece that has the 4 edges scored. We're going to measure in the inside and use this spare piece to cut out and layer for the actually this is going to be on the outside. So this is the outside. And we're going to go ahead and just glue it on. Okay, so this is the piece that's going to layer, get glued down, and it's cut just inside those score lines. And forget about what I said about gluing it down. You can glue it down because we're going to use these as templates for the inside layers because we also need to layer it on the inside, right? So these are going to be our templates. So this is why I suggested not to follow step by step. Watch the entire video first because I made a boo-boo. I mean, I'm glad I didn't glue anything down yet. So these layers that get glued to here, don't glue them down yet. You can cut them out, but don't glue them now because we're going to use these as templates for the inside layers. That way we don't have to do the measurements all over again. And this one that we did almost in the beginning, do not glue this down because we're going to use this to as a template, so we don't have to use we don't have to measure all over again. That's double work. Work smarter, not harder, right? Before I share what's happening here, I do want to say that I made a mistake when I sent out the kit for the armoire. I needed to print out 3 of these, and you guys only received 2. So I went ahead and emailed all the 10 beautiful souls who bought the kit and made a note and included this paper because this is not in the digital collection. There's one similar to this that has images in between the stripes. So on your end, you will need to print that out unless you're using a different designer paper from the collection or one that's already in your stash, one that you chose to do on your own, okay? So this is how I'm going to layer these parts to trace. I've already started tracing this part as my template to trace. So I trace this, and I want the doors to match, so I have these on the ends, and this is for the top of the armoire that's going to create the arch. For this one, I do want this to match as well. This is for the sides of the armoire. And so I'm going to match the stripes this way, and then I'm going to match this here and trace that. And then what we have left is the armoire for the inside. So I will align this as best as possible and trace this as well and cut it. So all of these are going to be cut manually, just like the other parts. Okay, so for the roof, we have the inside and outside layers. You can go ahead and glue the outside layers. Okay, for the armoire, we have the inside layers and the outside layer. Just glue the outside layer and the feet. Those are the only things you're going to glue. We're not going to glue this on yet. These are the sides. We're not going to glue the inside layers, but we will glue the outside layers only. Only the outside, not the inside. On both of them. We have those done, okay? We also have, we can glue the doors entirely, the inside and outside layers. That's the outside. This is the inside layer. And these are all the outside. So we can glue everything on the door. This is the bottom. And we have the inside and outside layers for that one. Now, we have these parts too. And this is to prevent the doors from caving in. And you have two of these. We're going to glue these two together. You're going to trace, because you're going to have extra pieces of papers. So you're going to trace that. Then we're going to need these two pieces. There's a reason for these. One measures 1 inch by 5 inches wide. This one measures 5/16, a little bit over 5/16, and 5 inches wide. So we're going to cut those parts out. Okay, so for the 1 inch by 5 inches, we're going to score in the middle. So that's going to be a 1/2 inch score. All right, and that's going to go here, and we need that because a part of this bottom part of the box, it's going to show in the front of the armoire, so that we don't want this dark white. So that's why we need that. And then this other piece that I told you to also cut, like I said, 5/16, forget about that. We don't need it. And actually it was supposed to be 5/8, not 5/16. I don't know why I said 5/16, but we can discard that. We're not going to need that. And then I went ahead and cut this part. And I do have pencil marks. So I will be erasing all those pencil marks. If you don't like them, then I suggest for you to erase them as well. I glued the layers in place. I still haven't done the inside. Do not do the inside. This is the roof. I do have the inside layered. We can go ahead and do that. The doors are layered. You can glue the layers here too. I just haven't done it yet, but I will get to that eventually. Okay, so those are layered. Everything is on there. It has a really nice thickness. This is also layered. And I added the extra piece already on top of here. This is the one that goes on the back. So I will glue that on and then glue it there. So now you can see those white edges will not show. And again, it gives it a nice stability. It gives it really strong legs. And do not layer this one either, okay? This one doesn't get layered. And the inside feet layers, we don't glue them on yet either. Okay, so that's done. I also have this one done, and the bottom that has the 4 edges scored. Okay, I'm excited because now we get to assemble. Yay! So before we assemble, we have to do another step here. We're going to align this where the score line is, from edge up here, top edge and bottom edge, and we're going to draw a line, and then we're going to cut that off. I've already done that to here. Otherwise, this is going to show when you open the doors, okay? Because it is much longer. This is a 1/2 inch, and obviously this is not a 1/2 inch. And we're going to do that to, this is the roof or the top of the closet. We're going to take off, we're going to slim it down maybe about to 1/4 inch, and then we're going to cut a ways 3/4 inch. And I drew it here so that I know where to cut. This is because when we curve this around the roof of the front, we don't want it to show here and a little bit over here. So that has to be done. So obviously this part will glue to the back of the armoire. This is the inside, this is the back of the armoire, but the back, the complete back, and we're gonna make some cuts into here, okay? So we're gonna angle. We're pretty much making triangles. Cut a ways from that score line. Don't cut into the score line, otherwise it will show. Oh yes, and make sure you curve your armoire so that it gives it nice form. That was a bit challenging because we have this layer here and this layer here, so it became really thick. But we want that for sturdiness, right? So just keep doing this all across here and all across here, okay? Okay, so this is what we have, and I am going to use double-sided tape and add the adhesion on the outside here, on both sides. I'm going to glue this here, glue this one here, so I'm going to glue those in place. So these are adhered. We got the sides on. Okay, now we're going to put the bottom. So for the bottom, we're going to cut, let me see, let me go ahead and fold these. Okay. And we're just going to cut this way, that way, this way, and that way. Okay, that's all we're doing. We're going to glue these tabs in place this way and in place that way. So just glue on your tabs. I do have a little bit of a hangover there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim a little bit off of here on the tab, trim off from this tab, and on the other side as well. That gets rid of some of that bulk. Now it's flush. Okay? Now it's all even all around. So go ahead and glue that in place. So that was the last tab for me. Now we have our tray. Okay. And this gets glued just like this. Making sure everything is aligned. Okay. So that's the bottom of our armoire. So you will be adding your adhesive. As a matter of fact, I think I want to do this one first. Decide what you want to be the front. I guess I can make this my front. Glue this in place. Okay. So remember the front of the armoire, that's going to show a bit. And that'll also act as a stopper for the doors. I'm going to go ahead and glue that in place. Okay, so how am I aligning this? With this on the edge, from the bottom edge here to the bottom edge here is how I'm aligning that. When this is adhered to this really well, then I will add my glue here and my glue here for the front. The glue here and the glue here for the front. And I will glue that into place. And you will have part of the armoire already built. Okay? But I want to make sure this is adhered really well before I go ahead and do that. So it's all attached to the bottom tray. Okay, now we're gonna attach this. Remember the parts we cut here in the front, I'm gonna have to trim that tape also. Okay. Those parts are going to be in the front, so this is going to go this way. So I'm going to turn this around. And I'm actually going to do this unconventional. I'm not going to start from one edge and finish off to the other one. I'm actually going to start from the middle. I'm going to take a part of this tape off. I'm going to open this side so I can pull it off easy. So I have the release paper facing me so that I can just pull it off. So I'm going to start here. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just curve it where it's curving all the way here. Okay. And okay, that's good enough. Okay, I lost the release tape from here. Here it is. Okay, now I'm going to shape. So this side is a little bit longer than this one, but I think it should be okay. I'm gonna go ahead and contour here. And a little bit there, as long as I have enough here so that I can make contact with these two and add glue there. I'll do the same thing to this one. Okay, let me try to pull this out a little bit. Okay, there we go. There we go. And bring it a little bit this way. There we go. And there we go. Okay, that's done. I'm gonna add my adhesive here. And because this is already shaped, the front is going to be easier to install. Okay, so now I have that adhered to this. Now I'm going to do the same thing to here. And I think, to be honest, the double-sided tape is probably better for that, because it took me a while for the wet adhesive to stick onto that to dry. You can, I guess, do both, you know, make sure that it is in position. Okay, so they're both adhered on both sides here. Okay, now for this part here, we're gonna have to trim. Okay, we're gonna have to obviously cut off these parts here and cut off this. So let me see. I'm gonna eyeball it. I'm gonna make it round because that is round. What I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna bring it all the way up, and then I'm going to do this, and that'll give me my cut line. Yep, starting to look much better. Look at that. Okay, so just squeeze this paper in here, force it in there, and just crease it with your fingernail or your finger to get that line so you know where to cut. Look at that. Much better. And I'm gonna go ahead and trim off what I creased. Look at that. Okay, so once you have that, you're gonna do the same thing with this one here. So I found my crease. I'm gonna go with this one here. I'm going to use my paper trimmer for that. Okay, so I got it, see? And you're going to glue this in place, and then you're going to add your sides, and you're going to bring it all the way to the tray so you can cover the edge of that tray. And it's nice and cleaned off. The tray doesn't show. See that? The tray won't show. So you're going to do that to both sides. And once we're done with that, I'm going to add the one that we glued on the poster board. We're gonna have to trim some of this off too. Okay, then we're gonna add that. So we're gonna clean that off. And then I'm also going to, since we still have pieces of this left, I'm gonna add a piece here to cover the white here. And of course for the front as well. Okay. So now we have the sides adhered. Now we're going to do the front. I will be adding adhesive to the edges only. We're actually going to do this part last. Oopsie. Okay, and I can kind of see where the tray is here on this part of the leg. So I'm going to align that. And before this completely cures, I want to make sure that this is pretty straight, and it is. It's pretty straight. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. This is why I left the front last instead of doing it first, so we can get our hands in there. So the memory card got full and the battery died. This tutorial officially sucks. No matter how professional I was trying to be. Okay, and then this part goes on the inside. Of course, we have to cut some of this off on here. Okay, so I have to cut some more. I cut a little bit off already. Let me see. I'll do a little bit more. Oh, that's much better. Okay, so I'm going to add adhesive to the edge here, all the way a little bit down here and over here. As a matter of fact, I'll do it now. Okay, there we go. And that'll stop the doors from caving in. Up here, it's gonna stop down here automatically, but we needed it to also stop from caving in up here, because it will cave in if you don't have a stopper up here. You know, people who have a predisposition to anxiety or experience anxiety, we have a thing with perfectionism. And I'm saying, you know what? Forget that. Because sometimes things don't work out the way we plan, the way we want. And so we just gotta go with the flow. And make jokes out of it, right? Okay, so there that is. And then we have the doors. Oh my, look how pretty that is. It's so pretty. And mine does open here a little bit, but that's okay. The hinges are gonna fix that. Definitely gonna fix that. So I'm not gonna worry about that. But we're pretty much done. We're just gonna add the hinges. Look how nice. Look at this. Look at that. I love it. And of course we still gotta add the legs in here and in here. And to be honest, the tray should have went a little bit lower. It really should have went a little bit lower because of the way these edges here on top of here curve in. We needed this completely straight. So I'm not redoing this video. I'm gonna leave it as is. But I own that it is a disaster. I own it. But I love it. I love this. Look how pretty. And that's where those hardware that I included in the physical kit comes in. This is what you get to really be creative and decorate. Oh my goodness, but look how gorgeous that is. Okay, so now we're going to install the legs. I've already done the back front. Now we're going to do the inside back. And we do have to trim because it sticks out. And we're going to do that little by little, because you don't want it to cut it. Well, if it's too short, you're gonna get a space up here. You're gonna get a little space there if you do it too short. So mine is pretty much there, so I'm just gonna go ahead and glue that in place. Okay, so the last thing to do, well, not really the last, because I do want to cover these white parts back here. I don't want to move it yet. Anyway, I did add the back legs. Excuse me. And I'm going to glue these down with E6000. However, I'm only going to glue it to this edge here and then leave it overnight. And then I'm going to come on the next day. And then I will glue it to the doors to risk from anything moving, right? So, because I also have to squeeze this in. So I'm going to probably tie a rope or something to squeeze this in a little bit to close in here because it is bolding there. And I don't want that. So I'm going to do that. Hasta mañana. See you tomorrow. So it is the next day for me, and this is what I've done instead. I let these hinges dry that were glued only to the armoire part for a few hours. So I did that for a few hours, and instead of waiting the next day to glue these on, I went ahead and glued them onto the door. That way it's still all in the same day, and then I would only need to wait the overnight, which is the one day, which is today for me. And then I went ahead and tied it, to keep everything in place, keep it from moving. And I actually tied it before I glued down the hinges to the door. And then all I did was, once I've tied it, I lift the hinges up a little bit, add the glue, and then brought it back down to press it against the glue, and voila, it's done overnight, one day. So this is the moment of truth. I just used this rope that I had. You can use twine, you can use whatever you have. Okay, here we go. Ta-da! It worked. It worked. So there we go. We have our doors in place. The last thing we're going to do is adhere paper to here. So with our scraps, you're going to trace, because we do have some of this left over. So I'm just going to place this here. I'm going to actually place it on one of the flowers. And we're just going to trace around it. I know you can't really see what I'm doing. Okay, so what I've done here is I traced this, and I went a little bit beyond. And there goes my trace. And I'm just going to cut around it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and erase the pencil marks. And we're pretty much going to do what we did to the inside of the paper. I'm going to place it here. And then I'm just going to squeeze it till I get the outline of the crease of the arm, with the top of the armoire. I'm going to go all around. So we have that. As you can see, I do have a crease there. So I'm going to go ahead, this is my top, right? So I'm going to cut a little bit further away from where that crease is, and then I'm going to cut right into the crease, or on top of the crease. And this is what we have. I think I need to cut some of that off too. And that's what we have. So I'm going to glue that in place. I've already cut these other ones out. All I have to do is glue them in place. And then we have our finished armoire. This bag was included in your physical kit for you to decorate your armoire in any which way you want, or you can use whatever you already have if you want to do that. I am going to use some of these to embellish the armoire. Okay, you can cut these also. These are fairly easy to cut. They're very thin filigree. I think I'm going to use this for the front, and then split it in half, and then add some knobs. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that pretty? For that, and then here's your handmade if you want to put it in the back of your armoire. This thing is so pretty. Oopsie, let me take these off before I lose it, right? You can put that, like glue this down here, here, wherever you want, here, or on the bottom if you want. It's up to you. Or you can use this for something else. It's up to you. But this is great to make an album, a mini album, and put it right inside. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. It really turned out pretty. But again, I emailed everybody with this paper because they're going to need an extra paper. So I included 3 of these, and I should have included 3 of these. Well, hope is not lost. So I will definitely include this paper as well. The only thing is that I'm not sure if it's going to print out the same color. Everybody's printer is different. So I'm really, really sorry about that. Please forgive me for that. That's what I get for rushing. Never again. I'm not going to rush again. Definitely going to take my sweet old time next time. But you know, again, you can use any other papers that are in the digital kit because that was also included with the physical kit to do the inside, because you can print as many as you want. Or you can reprint this instead of using the ones that were included, so that the colors could be cohesive. Okay? So you would print out 3 of these. Okay, well, that's it. So I hope I did a good job in explaining how to put this together. The layering, I believe, was fairly easy. I ran into trouble when I was assembling. All in all, it still turned out the way it was supposed to turn out. So that's it. I hope everybody's doing well. And please be safe. Let's share, be fair, be filled with love, and love one another. Take good care, everybody.